All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Sport webinar. Today's date is January 18th, 2020. This is a Saturday morning webinar, and the title of today's webinar is Nicely Green, Turn It Off. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, and bear with me 1 second. Yeah, I don't actually see Lisa in here right now. She'll probably watch it later, I think. But anyway, I'm going to go over a couple of her questions here real quick. And you know, she's got some good questions here, and I'm going to go ahead and answer those. Just 1 second. Bear with me. Where'd that go? Here we go. All right. This is one of them right here. And basically what this is, Lisa's saying she noticed, for instance, that Phantom Alert Long was going off. See, it's actually flashing when it, the Phantom Alert will only go off if you get this color background, okay, on the long. And of course, this went deeper, but this still turned out to be a decent Phantom. So see how basically the Phantom was just straight across, see how it was stair-stepping at the time and then it was straight across? That's still a good Phantom long down in here. The moment the first bar turned back to the upside, looks like she's using the 2-4 Object Trader Ranko. Okay. And so anyway, that is definitely, a good Phantom type entry, but, and even though it's red, because this just went red simply because it went deeper than it was, than it would have. If it would have just gone in this area right here, this would have never gone red. This actually went red because it did go deeper, but that's still a great Phantom trade. Okay, notice that the mid-band is yellow. Now I'm real cautious when they do go red on the background because they can really flip over too. Now everybody sees though on this chart though that if you were looking at this, you had a high, you had a low, you had a lower high. They start breaking this right through here, and they for sure break lightning 3. You can short that. See right through there, you could short that. I can't draw a line on this chart because this is a picture is all it is. Okay, but you could definitely have shorted that and gotten 10 ticks or so. And then if you were a type that takes the Phantom boxing in down here at the lows, you could have gotten a Phantom trade too, as long as that mid band was yellow. Okay, and let's see, she had one more. Actually, she had a couple of more. Let me see if I can get this next one right here. 1 second. Okay, let's see, alert indicator indicating potential trend change. Well, now, okay, what this is right here, this is actually a potential trend change, okay, because this broke lightning 3, right? So definitely you could short that down to Phantom, but keep in mind that when you look at a chart like this, high, low, higher high, this is not lower lows than this right here. So this is actually definitely a legitimate Phantom. Okay. All right, and let's see one other one here real quick. Get these off one at a time. Let's see, I'm not sure. Let me see what this one says. Why is this background red? It hasn't taken out the low. Oh, I see what she's talking about here. Okay. See, basically she's using like Charles's chart here. There's like a little volume up and down bars, and then she's got the previous day's high, low, and all that. But this is still our regular chart. And she's asking, I think, why is this background red here? It hasn't taken out the low of 29,253. But that's not how our backgrounds change. This actually catches backgrounds pretty quickly. For instance, this is a high, low, lower high, definitely broke. You got a red background, you got a red midband. So that's absolutely a normal mid-band type trade for a short. Okay, Louis, I looked that over, and I'm gonna just do a webinar on predictors instead. It says we've got like 17 of them, and I'm still looking through them, but they're not basically newer ones. So I'm going to just do one on predictors on a webinar, the next webinar that I do. Okay, so that goes over Lisa's questions there. Does anybody have any questions on this so far? You know what I'm going over here? Because one thing I want to mention this morning is that, just like Charles said in the room the other day, swings are key. Okay, with our system, swings are absolutely key. Now, when you get up in the morning, to give an example, and you saw, let's say that you saw this right here. Okay, now doesn't this literally look like an uptrending chart? Right? I mean, if you can't see it, just draw it. Don't go way back. Just go, like look to the left to trade the right. And that's definitely an uptrend, right? So if you were to look at this chart right here, and you say, okay, we definitely have a low here that is established, right? So this is absolutely our low for the day, or not for the day, pardon me, but for this side of the chart. I'm going to draw a line there. All right. And then this one's barely taking out the high right here, but this is an identified swing as far as, barely taking out the swing by 3 ticks is not what I consider taking out the swing. This is an identified swing on what we call lightning 1 or 2, but it's not identified. Even though this did do the lightning 3, I still don't consider this an identified swing. I like to take out the previous swing by at least 10 ticks or more. Okay, to me, this is nothing more than a double top, because if you draw a line on it, you can clearly see that that's basically a double top. Right through there. It's not even taking out the high that much at all, at least where we're at right now anyway. Okay, so if I was looking at this, I look to the left to trade the right. Now we're going to look at the actual chart here in just a minute. But first off in my mind is what? Well, first off, you got to do this. You got to think, I got to go a certain direction. So what direction am I going? Let's put it big so everybody will see it. Right? Because we're not looking at shorts. So be sure and always diagnose your charts accordingly, to what's really going on. There's another one. I want to go over, like even that ES yesterday, which, I'm not really a fan of taking just a few ticks. I like, a decent little trade as far as that goes, and I like them to prove that they're doing what they're doing. And I don't like mid-band trades in sideways markets, okay? Because what they'll always do, at least 90% of the time anyway, is they'll get you in a little trade with 4 or 5, 6 ticks maybe, and before you can even get out of it, you're back at break even or worse. Okay, so I just don't like those kind of trades. All right, so let's look at the actual chart, and let's talk about Nicely Green and just turn it off. Okay, now when you draw on your charts, and let's go ahead and just go to the actual chart. I'll go ahead and go to it, and then we're going to draw on this chart. All right, because it's really important to draw on your charts. I see 96 as my high right through here, but if they barely take this out, I pretty much bring the line down to that 93 instead, because this is nothing but wicks above it right there. Okay, so if let's say, for instance, you were looking at a mid-band trade like right here, okay, where would you expect this to hit its head? And you need to be taking profit. By the way, this is not a move where everything's just really stair-stepping up. They haven't even taken out the highs over here by very much, and that was like a day ago. Okay, so see where this moved so drastically, like right here? Remember, we called these trades on Thursday. We got this trade on Thursday. We called this trade on Thursday, and right before we closed the room, we even called this trade on Thursday, even though I didn't take it. You know why I didn't take it? that same thing we're talking about today. Nicely green, turn it off. Because if you get a decent trade like this one here with a couple of contracts, you could literally be done for the day. Remember, we took that out when it went through line 6. So if you got in down here and you got out at line 6, see, this never even took out line 6 until right through here, then you've got a great trade and you're done for the day. Okay, let's see, just a second. Louis is asking some things. Quite a few typing there, Louis. Let's see. But still relevant, right? Because technically it did take out the right, Gary. I'd have to go back. I'm not sure what you're talking about now. Give it a few minutes and you can give it another type in on that. But let's go over this just real quick. These were legitimate trade calls on Thursday. Remember them? And these are called ahead of time too. I mean, this trade right here that was called, this trade right here that was called, those are classic Viper type trades. Now, why do these work? And when you get into choppy stuff, you know, they just don't seem to do it. Well, first off, when you go from a downtrend to an uptrend, you get that initial thrust. Okay, this is that leg 1 of a thrust. This is leg 2, and that's leg 3. Okay, and when you can get this particular trade, this is the best trade that you can get out of the whole bunch on a normal day, is the thrust, retrace, thrust. Okay, so if you go over here, for instance, you say, okay, this thing went up drastically. So what do you expect it to do after a huge move up from 57.60 to 58.90? It's going to consolidate, right? So you have to draw on your charts. Okay, and if you draw on your charts, now keep in mind that if this was to decide to just blow through this line, I'd stay with this trade too. But if you draw on your charts and you say, okay, I'm thinking about getting in this trade, you know, pretty soon, as a matter of fact, okay, because I see it coming down to mid-band. I see a swing over here to the left like that, and it's testing it. See it? Thrust, retrace, thrust, testing it. Then I'm pretty much getting ready to take a trade. But I've also got to see on my chart how much reward do I have in this trade if it works out. Well, I've got resistance at 81 looking to the left to trade the right, and I've got resistance even at 78. Now, I'm not going to get in much before probably 75 or something like that to begin with, so 78 is not going to be my first target. It's going to be this 81, okay? So I draw on my chart where I want my trade to go, and I draw on my chart over here and over here. And usually when I see a wick like this, I pretty much draw it right through here on the swing. And so if I was to get in this trade, I'd say, okay, I'm wanting to get to 81 and then 85. And if it can break this, then it should go all the way up to the top. Okay, so you calculate in your mind, you know, how is this trade going to work out if I do just like 2 contracts, to give an example. Okay, well then I'm going to need to take one off probably in, you know, 8 or 10 ticks, and that's only $80 if I come back to break even with my next one. But that's still profit, right? But if I do like 3, to give an example, and I try to take off one here, and then let a runner run until it gets stopped out, then, you know, I could, you know, potentially have even more. But you've got to look each day and see where they've hit their head. You know, way back here, they hit their head at 10:50 in the morning, approximately at 58.88. So you know the next day that's going to be, you know, when they're consolidating all night long like that, that they're going to pretty much be hitting their head again. So, you know, level set your expectations. If you took this trade that was called on Friday, and it did definitely go up to here with, say, 2 contracts, we'll just say 2 contracts, then you actually hit, you know, over $400 or $500. Matter of fact, several people chimed in and said they got like $520. Now this trade, I don't think I even called in the room. It was the next one, because this is the one I took because I get up a little bit earlier. But let's just diagnose this trade and see where you would take it. Okay, let's see. I want to see that black chart to contrast with this chart if I could for a second. Um, did I do away with that chart? I'll get it again. I think I just killed it's all. No big deal. Webinar. Load. Okay, and always, what I normally do is I see my trend or whatever, and then I draw lightning 1 or 2. And I see I'm taking out 78, but that's not an identified swing. So I look to the left and see my next one, and my next one looks like it's at 62. So I really don't want to take that one out also. So I'm thinking that they're more than likely going to bounce somewhere in this area, right? And then I look at my actual chart and I see where I'm at on mid-band. What time frame do you think is best to trade CL? Sounds like pre-market is a time you really like. Well, David, I don't always get up every single morning. You know, I used to like around 5 o'clock, and evidently my biological clock's been set up a little bit more because I'm pretty much getting, you know, around the, I don't know, 6:15, something like that. I was getting up at about 5, but that's kind of left me. I don't even wake up anymore at that time. So I'm usually in the room here around 6:15 Central Time. Okay. Does everybody see though, you know, how to diagnose your chart? You know, and for instance, keep in mind that when we take this trade, we're going to want to box it in, right? We don't know for sure if it's through retracing yet. You know, you've got support down here at 62, right? But more than likely they're not going to take that out also. But if they did, I'd be watching to box it. I'll show you. I'd be boxing it down here even, or I'd be boxing it right in through here. You know, if they happen to get above that mid band, you know, you might even engulf that next candle. So you have a down candle, up candle. And if it breaks that, then go ahead and take it. Okay, but remember, if you box it, you've got to put your stop underneath the swing, you know, whatever's swing has transpired at the time. Okay, so let's do a little trade. And we'll use our region. Now, in this particular case, I see a trend line also. Everybody see that? Thrust, retrace, you got a little trend line through there. So you could use wedge if you wanted to, right? And just draw your little trend line like so. Now remember, on wedge you want to use touch, not close. The reason for that is because you could close on this side of the line and open on that side of the line, and object trader won't see it. Okay? Well, why the 2 boxes, Louis? Because I'm looking just in case they go deeper, that they could go as low as over here even, you know, because I've got like a nice support right over here. But, you know, they're trying to bounce here at mid-band, so this would only be if it goes deeper. Because, see, what you want to do is you want to get in the habit of watching it as it's stair-stepping, because as long as it's stair-stepping down, you're not really wanting to jump right back into it. Okay? But, you know, for instance, if you want to do your ray just a little bit out, just so it, you know, doesn't accidentally grab it so quickly, you can always move it just a little bit, keep the angle of it, and that usually works out pretty good. You know, when I've done trend lines like that. But let's just see if this one did. I'm trying to remember if this was actually one that I know it is because it was 6:30 on Friday morning. But see how that's trying to bounce right there? Now, normally when I see that happen, I don't even wait for it to hit this line. I usually hit the buy button as a rule. But, you know, you can just wait for it to break the trend line too. You know, if this touches +2, you could change it to touch +1 even while it's actually trying to do it if you want. You could even do it at touch +0 if you want. And then it'll actually, if it just touches the line above it, it'll fire it. See, and there's your trade right there. Bring your stop just underneath the swing. And if you want to use exit on close, you can. With 2 contracts, that would give up a couple, like $150 of that. Let's see, but you really don't want to go against background and mid-band color, right? The Ray tool is well, I go against the background colors a lot, Louis. That's not something that I don't do because, to give an example on gold the other day, I went totally with the red background because I saw it had kissed a larger swing. That's what I'm going to talk about on Monday night quite a bit, is these 4 trends, because the 4 trends are super, super important. I'm going to put that exit on close just in case. Should bounce. And if, by the way, if you wanted to add, you could even add on your line if you wanted to. See, just went into another one and it went through the line. Okay. That's pretty much the way I traded that on Friday morning too. And this, by the way, when you get up to a nice little spot like over here to the left, you could always take one off. That way you're in a good running type trade. Now, if we don't get a higher low here, they're going to take me out. See here? This is trying to do a higher low. We're still down a little bit. There, we're back up. How many of you get wigged out when you just get down a little bit on a trade? I do too, believe me. Because you think, wow, I get in this thing exactly where I'm supposed to, and they take some of my coin. Well, you got to trust, what you've been taught and everything, and mid-band type trades. Now, let me show you something else here real quick. I'm going to close this out. Now, let's say that you didn't get up when I did and you saw what's going on right now. Can you clearly see it's taking out that swing here to the left? Could you just buy when it takes out that swing to the left? See it? Thrust, retrace thrust, like that. That's a swing. Now, that's more of a breakout trade. Right across here, like so. Okay? But that's still a legitimate trade. It would just be a bigger box. Everybody see that? So it really depends where you get in, and keep in mind, if you got in here with this box, you'd still have to have your stop underneath here. Or here now, see, because that is making a lightning swing. See this lightning swing right here? It's trying to make one here. You can keep raising it too. Not there yet. If it pops above that swing, you could bring your stop right underneath there. Everybody see that? So it seems like the micro moves, such as higher highs, higher lows, determines you're going against the trend. Well, to go against the trend, to give an example, like, I don't know, let me see if I can find something. I'll probably have to find something like gold. Well, here's an example right here. This was, okay, you had a high, you had a low, you had a higher high, higher low, a little higher high. So this is your identified swing right here on what we call lightning 3. This is your identified swing on what we call the more identified big retrace, big thrust. Okay, so there's a low right there. See what they basically did is they just took it out. Okay, and then could you box this in even while this is red? Because we do it all the time. For instance, if you saw this happening, you say, okay, you're at resistance right there. You're going to either roll over or you're going to head up. Well, you could box it either direction. And of course, that one ended up going up. Now, if you're not gutsy like that, then wait for the retrace, which was definitely the better trade right here, right? But that's not a bad trade right there to get in at a mid-band if it'll go ahead and break. Now, keep in mind, though, when you do that, you're going to want to get out fairly quickly. Okay? Now, see, we're only in one. Let's see what our trade is doing right now. Okay, now, if you draw on your chart, see, you've got resistance right up there at 98, and it just pretty much hit it, at our predictor anyway. And these predictors, by the way, are pretty good at predicting where the price is going. because it knows how it's acting on the chart and everything. So when they hit these predictors, you got to really start thinking about, you know, is this going to blow through this or is it going to take me out? Okay, because we're hitting, you know, these blue predictors. See, that may get us actually. And if it does, it does. That's fine. Didn't yet. I'd probably put it right underneath that. And it got us. Okay. Now see, keep in mind I only did one contract just a second ago and I took the other one off. So to be fair, we would be up more than that, obviously. All right. Now, are we thrust traders or retrace traders, everyone? Would you go ahead and jump in this trade yet? I mean, let's stop this for just a second. If you were actually getting up at 7:30 and you saw this happening, what would you do? Anybody? You got to wait for a retrace. And if we're going to get any higher highs at all, then this has to hold. Everybody see that? Okay, so this would need to hold if this is going to be a high, a low, come down and give you a higher low and then take off and give you a higher high. That would be a continuation of an uptrend, right? Okay, so yeah, we're going to wait for the retracement on this trade, right? So let's draw and see where it's going to come. Well, predictor says right here, all right, looking to the left to trade the right, there's a swing at 73 and also 76. So that's probably where I'd be looking to get back in. Okay, now the reason that I don't normally do like one is because just a minute ago when we took that great trade off that was 3 so I could show you this breakout, you don't want to do this breakout with one contract. Okay, disregard too far back, Louis. Okay, yeah, Louis, I know you're typing and typing and typing, and I'm trying to go ahead and get everybody, you know, figured out on what I'm talking about here. I'll go over anything though. Just keep typing's fine, and I'll look at it. Everybody see what I'm talking about though? You've got to diagnose your charts every single time when you're getting ready to get in a trade. You got to know where the next trade's setting up. I think Charles tries to teach that constantly, just like I do. You know, for instance, if I was going to try to get in this trade right here, if this was to truly break out and go like a house of fire, you know, I might even put a buy in above this swing right here. And if it went above it and stayed above it, I'd be fine. But I'm looking for a retrace trade. That's the key to trading, is retrace trading. Because what'll happen if you don't wait for the retrace, see, there's retracing. It is retracing. Now, could you get ready to take this trade? Anybody? Well, close below line 6 and stealth is what we call a minimum criteria trade, but it hasn't started picking back up yet. If it comes down and tests my predictor, and it's also testing the support right here, I'll probably just grab it. But we'll go ahead and do, you want to do like a wedge on it, or what do you think? A box? Okay. Everybody says a box. So we'll do our wedge, our box. We'll bring it down right on top of the predictor. We're not going to take a breakout. And we'll see if we can get down there to that predictor. And I'll just do one if it kisses predictor and bounces. And then we'll do one on a little breakout if we can get another little box. Now, like I say, your best trade setup is going to be at or near mid-band. Okay? We're not thrust traders. That didn't bounce enough for me yet. I'm not in it. I'm skipping it. May have missed it, but that's okay. It's got to come down into our area if we're going to get this. There you go. Predictor saying right up there at 59. And I'm going to take another one if it crosses that line. Whoop, wrong one. There we go. We got it anyway, so we're good. All right. Now we're feeling some heat. Okay. Wait. Let me pause this just a second. What do you think? Well, we're not feeling heat. I wasn't able to pause it quick enough. But see how it bounced right off the mid-band? Okay. Now, your best place to take this trade, if you're a conservative trader, is the lightning. Okay. Draw your lightning and you'll see like so. All right. That is your identified swing right there. Okay. That's your clearest, best trade as far as being conservative. Now, if you're more of a gutsy trader and you want to just take it right when it hits that mid band, like I did, by drawing that on that predictor, then sometimes you're going to feel a little bit of heat, and it may even reverse on you, and you got to get out if it does. But the safest way to take this is when it no longer is heading down. And the only way to do that is to head up above that swing. Okay? And you would box it that way. You could also do a trend line. Now keep in mind when you do a box, this still could easily come down here again. When they break out of boxes, they go right back and check them. What is the white sideways box, David? That's actually the open of the market. That's the one that draws at 7:59. I draw mine every day at 7:59 without delay. Right here where your region is. I set them for 7:59. And the reason that I do that is because that's 1 minute before the market opens. Let's see, question coming in. How do you decide stop below the box versus stop if it goes back into the box? Okay, Todd, on your question right there, like I say, if you're more of a gutsy trader and you take these support and resistance type bounces, resistance rollover, for instance, and support bounces, then wasn't my entry better than here? See, because I diagnosed my chart and everything. And by the way, this trade was called in the room on Friday morning too. Anybody remember it? We literally actually boxed this in just exactly like this right here. We had a box drawn, and I said that was a down candle, that was an up candle, and if it broke that with that candle, you were getting the trade. So your entry would have been just about a little higher than what I got in just a minute ago. Okay. Now, one of the reasons that we did that rather than waiting on the break here is because it was a mid-band trade and you're boxing it in. Now, what if at the open you went long and they went like up like this and then immediately hit this and rolled and went right down through here? Well, we've got a feature on Object Trader. You can actually even reverse it, but I don't recommend, using it all the time simply because this is still an uptrend, in my personal opinion, until it at least takes out this. If it takes this out here on this side, high, low, and higher high, then this will be your new low. But for right now, I wouldn't even be entertaining a short until it took that out, at the moment anyway. Now, I might even take it if it took this out, if it didn't go against me. In other words, if I was to actually, let's say that hypothetically this is what happened instead. If it broke this support here, you would have had a high, a low, a lower high, see? And if it broke this and you shorted it, then I'd probably want to take some coin when it got down to Phantom. Okay? But to truly look for a short, I wouldn't be looking for it until it took out this side of the chart. And none of our backgrounds will change or anything until it gets way down here to begin with, and does some price action too. Let's see, would breaking below those two predictors be a pretty good thing? Well, yeah, that's another thing to look for too. When you actually start getting breaking down on the chart, let's see if we can find that. See, like right here, your predictors start, kind of heading down, somewhat. You had a nice little phantom trade, probably 10-tick trade at least. And then see, they broke down. This was kind of telling you that they were starting to do it with those predictors like that. So you can definitely look at that. That's definitely a nice little mid-band type trade, a phantom trade. Of course, that was at midnight. No, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But what I find that works out the absolute best on trades is when they change trends to mid-band, and then you get that nice first mid-band type trade. And those seem to work real well. See, I got this one earlier on Friday, and I really thought it was going to go ahead and go through this top, and it hit its head here. So literally got out of the trade, and then when the room opened, we got in this one. And it turned out to be a nice trade. Okay, let's say that you missed that trade. I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward this a little bit. And let's say you missed that trade. All right, I didn't take it out, by the way. I should have right there because I did call it. Okay, is this a trade set up right here? Anybody? Well, it actually already is. See it? Down candle, up candle. It actually is trying to reverse as we speak. So rather than boxing it or anything, I would just simply jump in the trade. Okay, and put your target right at the top. If bar happens to go above that, I'd probably even add one. Everybody see that? I also called that trade on Friday. Now, when we talk about being nicely green, okay, let's say that you're up, we've been playing around, but we're up 230. Let's just don't care that we played around. If you get to, say, $400 or $500 for the day, could you consider that nicely green and turn off the machine? I'd put my stop just under the mid-band. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that you get two trades that are called in the room, because these were both called, by the way, totally live in the room. And you can actually just watch your P&L, as a matter of fact, and say, okay, you know, it's 230, 250, 290, 350, 370, 390, 390 again, 410. Well, we're starting to get nice. Could you actually hit close when you hit $500 and not even care? That's what's called nicely green, by the way. And that's something that I actually learned from my son instead of myself as much, because I'm one of those traders for years that would actually hold that last runner and just keep holding it, except, you know, if it took out line 6 or it takes out lightning 1. I watch these power meters. This would have taken me out right through here on that bar, or at least that bar. Okay, but when you get nicely green and you're up for the day, and let's say that your goal is $1,000, but on a Friday you think, you know what, this didn't take out the top. I got in another trade and barely took out the top. You know, got in this other trade that Gary called, and we, you know, just double topped. We even called this double top in the room on Friday. I said, it's double topping, be careful. And if you took your trade out at line 6, you know, with that trade and that trade right there, you did pretty decently on your trades for the day. Okay, now let's look at this chart and see if anybody can figure out another one. We'll just see if we can get another one. Let's get rid of lightning for right now. All right, let's look at our chart and see where we're at. Right at resistance. Could you actually, if this decided to roll right here at this line where it's at resistance right there, could you actually sell that and see if you could get some ticks, but you'd put a really tight stop? Now keep in mind, the only reason that you would do that is simply because it kissed resistance on the left. Okay, and usually probably if it went up like that again, I'd more than likely get out of it. And if I remember right, I think we did that on Friday, or at least I called it. But or I might have even said, you know, it could be rolling over, but you could also be looking for a phantom too, right? So remember, one trade that I like really well in the room each and every day is, if you can't take out these tops, you get these yellow bar probes, you're going to finally get what we call a phantom trade. And I like to look to the left to trade the right, and I see what's going on in the chart. So here's a high, here's a low, here's a fresher, higher high up here. This is what I consider to be my identified larger term swing. Okay? if you don't see that, just be sure and just draw it. Usually you get like an ABC type move on most moves. So there's like leg 1 on this particular move. This is leg 2, like so. And that's leg 3, right? And they really never took out that top, not by very much. Okay, so that is an identified swing right there. So remember when we talked about saying, okay, we're looking for a phantom trade? And I even said, I'm not going to take it simply because I was already nicely green and I didn't want to take any chances with it. But if you were to look at this trade, I like the phantom to at least come down below line 2 to line 1. It has to come into this little box. If it doesn't, this is the trade that's going to bite you. Unless it decides to start stair-stepping back up and heading up. And then you could take it, but you gotta start stair-stepping back up and get some higher lows. Okay? So remember this little trade here? This is what happened in real time. Right there. Everybody remember that? Now looking to the left to trade the right, is that a decent trade right there if it bounces off of line 1? And if you were nicely green already and you hit the button, let's say you don't let it go against you at all, you're looking at your 500 and saying, whoa, wait a minute, that's 490, that's 500, that's 490. Did I make a mistake? Should I have just kept my green? See what I mean? Because with a 15 tick stop, I'm going to give up 150 bucks of that. That's personally why I didn't take it on Friday, because I was already up nicely green. Can you set OT to go long with up close at line 1? Not at this time, David, but that's going to be added on Ninja 8 as soon as we get the original checked out and everything. Because the programmer, the only way he would do Ninja 8 for us was to make Ninja 8 exactly like Ninja 7, and then we would go with any updates after that. Because Ninja 8 is so much different than Ninja 7 that he wanted to make sure that everything works on it first. Okay? Now, if you did happen to go with that, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to definitely put my stop just right there because I don't want to go back below 500, you can still take that trade. I would just highly recommend against, if you're nicely green, and we talk about turning it off, what if you had gone in with 3 contracts there instead? Well, in hindsight, it went up. But what if it didn't and you did 3 contracts and you just said, I'm going to let them go 5 ticks? We just gave up $150 of your 500. You see what I mean? So that's what nicely green is. If you get to a point where it's good for you for the day and you don't want to take another chance on a trade, because how many trades literally go the very moment you hit them with profit? Well, for one thing, you're already off by a tick when you fire a trade, so you're already down 1 tick for slippage, and sometimes 2. Depends on if you get, the order quick enough. Okay, so you're down from the moment you hit a trade. So let's say, for instance, I'm up $500, and that's my goal, and I did it with like 2 contracts. Well, what if I fire 2 contracts again? And I let it go against me 6 ticks, then I'm giving up $120 of my 500 bucks. See, the whole idea of trading is each and every day to continually get these nice figures. Okay, and that's what will absolutely add to your bottom line. I don't have any extras of Linda's here, but I'll show you one thing here just real quick. That is your goal right there. Stair step, stair step, and stair step. Could we have traded longer each and every day than we did? Sure. And I'm probably good enough that I can find places on that chart that I could make her more money than this by us just sitting together and trading. But the whole idea of nicely green is that you're building and building and building continually. And this is her actual funded account right here. I'm only taking a couple of pictures of her actual account because, it's not really totally my business to begin with. It's hers. But, I've got the emails from Top Step and everything else that shows she's a very consistent trader. And she does a lot of it just sitting here with me in the mornings, you know. But the whole idea of being nicely green is this right here. See the average winning day? Notice that same figure on that chart right there? Isn't that what you call nicely green? And could you turn off the machine when you get to your target? Now, if you've got a target of $1,000, then you're going to have to trade more charts, make real good decisions, and get, very good trades. Now, what do you do in a case like this? Do you go, well, you know what? I'm going to give them this much. Well, guess what? You're getting them $80 or your $500. And slippage if they happen to plow through it. So that's what I'm getting at about being nicely green. If you want to stop at that moment that you're up and you're done, that's called nicely green. Okay. I talk to traders all over the world, literally, some of them that I can't even understand accents and things, but we have people that will call and, take our trial and everything else. And the one thing that I run into more than anything is that I make money and then I give it back. I make money and then I give it back. And that's not the way to trade. Because if you think about it, when you take a chance at like even 2 contracts, to give an example, like right here, for instance, let's say that you fired it on maybe this candle right here and it pulls back a good 6 ticks against you, you're already down $120 for your very first trade of the day. Okay. Now, you got to be able to take that simply because I don't care how good a trader is. There's no such thing as literally an exact entry. Has anybody ever been in any trading room that could literally just nail every entry exactly? Because it can't be done. Because, you can look at fibs, you can look at support levels, you can look at resistance levels, you can look at indicators, and I can guarantee you they'll come deeper than you think they will, and they'll come less deep than you think they will on other times. Like for instance, you may have said, okay, I have support at mid-band, and what if they just came down to here and this was where they decided to start stair-stepping it back up? And if you boxed it, let's say that you had been you missed this trade and you saw this happening over here. Why won't this draw? All right, and this was happening, and you were saying, you know what, if they come anywhere even near that predictor, I'm just going to go ahead and grab that. Okay, and your predictor's right there, but you say, you know what, that's kind of on top of this support here, so maybe if this pops up just a little bit, I'll just go ahead and grab it. And your candle goes up, so you say, I'm going to take it. Okay? Now, did that turn out to be a good entry? No, they came down a little bit deeper. Okay? But the thing is, though, that if you take a trade and you get in at the wrong spot, you've either got to hold it for, for instance, if Charles would have gotten in a trade like this on ES, he would definitely hold with a close through mid-band. Okay? Now, if you take a trade that you're not as sure of, that doesn't go as deep as mid-band, then do it with one contract instead. Because I might have even grabbed that trade right there myself, because if I saw this, I'd say, you know what? I see this thrust, little retrace, big old thrust, that's the port. And what do? They come right down to it and bounce on that bar. Now, if you would have boxed it in, it would have still gotten you in too, see? But if you get to where you wait for trades to start going the other way or breaking trend lines, you'll probably make less trades, but you will be a little bit safer on your trades too. Okay, but keep in mind though that now this one turned out that it worked for us, so we're good to go. But I skipped that trade on Friday because I didn't want any heat whatsoever. I didn't care if it went up 30 ticks. It didn't matter. You're already at your goal. That's called nicely green. Let's see, wouldn't a box at line 1 be usable to do long at up close? Absolutely. Uh, David, we've actually been talking about that for almost a year with Viper, and I want that trade in Object Trader as an object type. I also want this trade in Object Trader as an object type, where some of our people will literally take a bounce off a midband, they'll give it like a 10 tick stop and usually get 10 ticks. Not even waiting on a close of a bar at all. They just literally take it if it touches midband and it's the right direction. So I think Kurt's one of those. Here's an example right here, a nice 20 tick trade. Here's another one right here. You felt a little bit of heat, but it gave you your trade. And he may even do it. I've talked to him before, and if he got in at midband and it goes 4 ticks against him, he gets out. Now this would probably have kind of eaten you up a little bit if you did that though, because you get in at midband. That might have been 10 ticks possibly right there. Could be actually. And then it probably doesn't do it again. So I don't know. I don't trade it that way myself. I'm usually boxing it in or buying it right at support. Within 2 ticks of support, I'll usually jump in a trade if it's good support. Let's see, that would be nice to have as a one click or something, but for now, can't a skinny box be used? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can use a skinny box down there. Matter of fact, you can use another tool that we have called Sniper. Let me show you how Sniper would actually work on that trade. We'll back this up to 8:30 just for the fun of it, and I'll show you that. Let it go ahead and load. Okay, let's say that you said, you know what, I'm going to take a line 1 trade and I'm going to do it if it comes down there, period, and bounces. So you could use something like Sniper, horizontal line, touch, plus like 2, and you're in the trade. In a case like that, I would probably put a stop of, let's see, that's 52, that's 58. I'd probably put 7 ticks, simply because you don't want to go below that. And turn on Sniper by hitting enter, and that's now a trade. So when that actually does do its thing, and we know it came down there obviously, and if it comes within 2 ticks of that line, it will fire the trade, or it should. With replay going this fast, it's hard to say if it will or not. Region will though, by the way. Region flat works on no matter what. See there, it got within 2 ticks of it, and there you got your trade. So you can definitely do that with like Sniper. Sniper, what it does is actually, it's just a line, and if you're using if the price is above the line, it's the B button. If the price is below the line, it's the T button. So, that can be a pretty good little tool. By the way, if you then hit a nice target and you just wanted to close it out, you could. See, there's $300. Okay, yeah, you can definitely set it up that way. I'll show you real quick. You can set that up the same way. Let me show you. That's a good question, actually. I just want it to be more automatic where you could turn it on or off. Let me show it to you on region. You don't have to use a thin box on region. You can just use a box on region. See, hit your region box, enter, bring it down. Only use the bottom of it. Touch, plus 2, same thing as that Sniper. And it should fire the same way. See? And what that does is, see, that gets within 2 ticks of the bottom of that box and fires the trade if it ticks above it. And I'd put my stop just underneath swing right here. Since we're looking to the left to trade the right, and there's nothing on the left except that. I bring my stop underneath there for right now. You're risking $160. Sniper line works like it's no, it actually fires, Jose, on it's basically a line on your chart, and then it fires a market order with your broker. Is what it actually does. So when that came within 2 ticks of the bottom of that box, it will fire that trade. Now, let me show you something else since we're talking about region just for a minute. Let me back it up one more time. Go ahead and do that same trade and I'll show you something else. Like Dave was asking if you could actually do it more like a tiny box. You can do that too. What you do is just hit insert and bring it down. You could actually bring this down here like so. Make it even like almost a line if you wanted to, and then just turn both of those on. One or whatever you want to do. And then if it gets down there, it would actually fire the trade also, because it's looking now at top and bottom of the box. And technically there's not a box because I've got it practically aligned, but it still is a box. See there? It's a beautifully designed little tool that we've got. There's no question about it. It works. The region box, I have never ever had any situation where it does not fire. I have had sniper not fire before. And why, I have no idea, truthfully, except in a really fast market or something like that. Now, region, though, if I do it on touch or whatever, it fires. You know, so keep in mind the region box. You've even got lightning, but see, with lightning, you wouldn't get your trade until that bar right there. In the case, I'll show you how that would work. Just for the fun of it, we'll do some entries. Well, David, on your question, I just was talking with the programmer this morning, as a matter of fact. The one last thing that he was waiting on was after their last upgrade on NinjaTrader was our panel to be updated. He did tell me he got that this morning. I've got his Skype at 9:28 this morning. Says, and now I'm working to finish. So I'm hoping to get OT anytime. I've actually grown very discouraged myself, but I also saw his frustration because every single time we would work on something, NinjaTrader upgraded. It's like they didn't really have Ninja 8 ready, because, you know, with panels and things like we do on Object Trader, it's a whole different ball game than just doing some indicators and stuff on Ninja 8. This is a complex little tool right here. I can tell you that. It's got like 55,000 lines of code in it. Okay, I'll show you the lightning feature. Now, the way you can do lightning on it is you got to wait for it to actually come down to the area, and then you would need to turn on your little deal. I'll show you how you would do that. That's not as automatic as it would be with the region. Should get a lightning red here in a minute, and then if it goes green, you could turn it back on. See if it does it. Go a little faster. There's red right there. Now see, what you could do is now right here, see when it hits the phantom, then you could turn on the PM1. And this doesn't have anything to do with T and B buttons. It's just a long lightning. So if this actually turns green, it would fire the trade. and you'll see as it actually does this little stair step, you'll see it do the lightning green. Now it would have to break that little swing right there. At least that's where it should fire. You can clearly see you can box this though, right? Got a candle up, candle down, box it. See there, fired right above that on that bar. Okay, that would be lightning entry. Now lightning entry is more of a breakout. So I would have to put my stop underneath this swing, right? See how you're feeling some heat on it already? And by the way, you can actually even turn on like lightning 2 and add a contract if you wanted to. You know, if lightning 2 goes green. So there's all sorts of ways to do this. We also have stealth on here too. Now the way stealth will do, let me show you on it. Now probably too late to get it. Let's see if we can get a stealth. Red stealth. Stealth to me is way of a breakout because where I would like to fire stealth would be right here. See stealth fired down here. So to me, that's way, way late. But this will give you the heads up, by the way, on when you start getting breakdowns. Notice when you start, to give an example, let's look over here. See when this was heading down in a big way, stealth red, stealth red, stealth red, and then all of a sudden stealth turns green. You know, that's something to look for to box in too, you know, to get some of these trades. See, this is too late to me to get in though. We called this trade right here exactly the other day. So you don't want to wait for stealth. Okay. This help everybody a little bit today? You know, because the whole idea of trading is not just that you get to fire as many trades as you want to fire. The whole idea of trading is that you want to get a nice trade under your belt, get another one, and if that's your goal for the day, then, you know, turn it off. Kenneth, on your question, we'll get you definitely an EMA type break. Or matter of fact, I plan on getting a trade in here that you'll be able to click stealth and then even tell it what you want it to do. Several things that I've got in mind that hopefully will come. All right. But in the meantime, keep in mind, though, that even until we get Ninja 8, I literally called this trade on Friday. If you took it, you made $400. If you took this one, you made another 4, say. Or let's say even 3 apiece. Let's say you didn't hold it the whole time, but let's say you made 3 and 3 and you were up $600 or 5, you're done for the day. And that's what we're all about. Don't go getting into this stuff like happened on ES. I'll go ahead and fire it up and then we'll wrap. All right, let's see. This was, yeah, like right here. Okay, see the high, the low, the lower high? This is the exact reason why a short was called on Friday when it broke that lightning 3 right there. And notice what it actually did. Where's your identified swing on this chart? Anybody? Well, it's technically right here, but if you look to the left to trade the right, it's also right down here. So on a high, low, like a ABC type move, or even A, B, C, D, E, F, G type move, you know, or ABC like that, then this is like an identified swing if it was to change directions. This trade right here was really nothing more than almost a phantom trade to go long. You can run another strategy concurrently with object trade, just not on the same chart. You mean, well, I mean, you could give it a shot. I've never even heard that. I'm not sure on that, David. Like if you have a strategy you could run right along with Object Trader. I have no idea how that would affect Ninja. Anybody have any final questions before we wrap? Did this help out a little bit? Be sure and always diagnose your chart you got to know where these things are going. And when you get up first thing in the morning, that's the most critical thing that you need to do is diagnose your chart. You've got to know which way this thing's going to go. So at like 6 o'clock when I get up in the morning, the very first thing I do is I start drawing lines on my chart. And I draw them looking to the left to trade the right. And then you get ready to take the trades. There was a trade set up. There was a trade set up. And that's what we called in the room on Friday. Friday. This trade here and this trade here. Okay? Looks like a constellation. Sometimes you feel like you're seeing stars the way these things trade sometimes, don't you? Okay, so everybody remember we're closed on Monday. We just decided since it's, Martin Luther King Day and the market's going to be pretty sloppy to begin with, I think. If they're not, then we're wrong. But, that's again one of those things like, do you really want to trade with not that many traders around? It could be very sloppy. It was last year. I even did a webinar on it. Let's see, can you post this in the members area after? I can post this in the members area right away. I post them literally after we close this webinar today. Okay. Is there a webinar on Monday night? You know what? I did have a webinar set up on Monday night. We can do it on Monday night. It's fine with me. If y'all want to, or I'll change it to Tuesday. What says the team? Well, Louis, on your question, now keep in mind, Louis saying you were willing to give up at least 6 ticks against you out of box, but you say kill it as soon as it re-enters. Remember, I've got a rule on that though. Okay. When I first get into my very, very first trade, I don't like to be down that much at all. Okay. But if I'm up enough, for instance, that 6 ticks is not going to hurt me, then I'll go ahead and take it. But keep in mind that trading's trading. You can do whatever you want. I just try to give some helpful tips and things like that. But, for instance, if you do that deal where it goes out of a box and back in it, you're going to get in and out of trades quite a bit too. But if you put it under the box, then you're going to give up, say $150 or $180 on a trade. And, again, that's up to the individual what they want to do. But, if I'm up, like I say, very, very decently, and I'm only trying one contract, I'll definitely give it 6 or 7 ticks, even if it goes inside the box. But usually if it closes hard inside the box, I'll get out. And you know what I mean by hard inside the box? That means they push it. You can literally tell by what they're doing with the bar what they're going to do to you. You ever notice that? They're just kind of just really quickly push it against you. That's pretty much when you got to get out. If they just kind of wick inside it and then play around it, you're still okay. All right. Any thoughts on starting a trade with one contract, then adding? Well, you can definitely do that, David. I'll stick around for a minute and show you. To give an example, like on, let's go back to oil real quick. I'll leave this webinar open for a few more minutes. It's fine. Anybody can leave if they want. It's still recorded. But like, let's say, for instance, that you did this trade right here that was called in the room on Friday. All right. And let's say that I was even drawing the box ahead of time. Okay. I said if this candle went down and the next candle went up, I was going to box it because this was right at the bell. So I was pretty much boxing it like that. So let's say that you do one contract, touch plus like even one, or touch even, period. If it touches the top of that box, go. All right. So it did that. Now you've got another box right here that you could actually add one if you wanted to. See the little, where it's kind of stair-stepping down, that breaks that and it'll be heading up again. So you could easily actually add one right there. And then that one, I probably would not let it go back in the box. I'd hold the one though, even below this swing. Okay. But if you start with like 3, to give an example, and they go against you quickly, that's what I'm talking about, getting out quickly of something. But yeah, if you want to stair step in like that, you certainly can. Another way you can do that too is do the little box like we called, and the moment it's in, just go ahead and go over here instead and turn this on. And the moment the bar closes up again, which would be on that bar, you'd get another contract. You can do it that way too. All right. The main thing is, though, I think even everybody can clearly see we do call good trades. 2 trades alone on Friday, you could be just what the title of this webinar is, Nicely Green. It doesn't say the title of the webinar is Nicely Green, keep trading until you give 200 of it back or 500 of it back. It says Nicely Green, turn it off. There was a trade Nicely Green, there was a trade Nicely Green. Both of them worked. And you could be done with those 2 trades in the first 5 minutes, 15 minutes of oil on Friday. Okay? All right. Thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. And we will do this again on Tuesday. Everybody have a great, nice day off on Monday. And, we'll see you on Tuesday. And I'll have this up definitely after we close the room here. All right. And David, I'll definitely be working on OT Ninja 8. You can count on it. I will be hounding this guy till the cows come home. All right. We're going to get it done. And we're closer than we've ever been. So I'm confident that he's like literally, I'm hoping days to week away from getting me a copy. But I've said that since the first of the year already. So I'm hoping we're there. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.